All right, folks, we are going to make this sweet and easy today. We're in this top-down view. We are looking at the Red Komodo, and we're going to be comparing the Komodo Red Control of the older Small HD Focus Pro with the newer Indy 5. So I already did a demo of the EL Zone system. If you haven't seen that, please go check it out. I think it's a pretty good video. It's a good demonstration of how I use the EL Zone in real-world use. So what you're looking at right here, this is the nifty little adapter that Small HD came up with. Because there is no 9-pin port on this Indy 5, what they do have on here though is a micro USB, which was interesting, as people pointed out in the unboxing that I did of this monitor over on my Instagram. So let me show you how this works. It's kind of nice how they made this. So this is the adapter. So what you have here is a 9-pin female LEMO to a USB, micro USB, a quarter 20, okay? And this way, you don't have to worry about it getting pulled loose. So that's kind of nice, you know, it's in there. It ain't going nowhere. This, however, you'll see here in a minute where this can be a little cumbersome having this extra connector because you still need to go from this into the camera. Okay, so with the Focus Pro, it has a 9-pin. It goes directly from the back of the monitor directly into the camera. One of the downsides with the Focus Pro, in my opinion, is there's no SDI out. There's no HDMI connections. It's literally just an SDI in monitor. As you can see here from the back side, it doesn't have any other ports on this thing. So it is a super simple monitor. However, they took it off the shelves almost immediately. I think it was maybe a supply and demand thing because this was released in 2020, the same year they released the Komodo. You'll notice here on the screen of the Small HD, we do have all of our camera parameters around the outside of the monitor. So this is kind of just how it works. Everything is super small around the side, and you can just tap any of these, and then you can get in here and you can start changing the camera's parameters. And as you'll see here, it is adjusting on the LCD screen as I'm jacking up that ISO. The big advantage of having Red Control for your Komodo, as you all know, is because of the awkward placement of the Komodo's LCD screen being only on the top. And depending where you have this thing mounted, it could be hard to get to. I've had plenty of times where I had to stand on an Apple box to get high enough to reach this thing when I didn't have the Red Control set up. So it can be very cumbersome if you don't have a monitor with Red Control specifically with the Komodo. So it's pretty nice here on our Focus Pro. Here's the record button, and there you can see it recording immediately on the Komodo. My one qualm about that is the little tiny record button here. So we've seen it on the Focus Pro. We know everything that does. In here is the camera menu. We're not loading the camera menu on this, are we? That's interesting. Okay, so now let's bounce out and jump to the Indy 5. First things first, proper protocol. Pull the SDI first. Here we go. All right, now I'm gonna pull my control cable out the back. All right, so one of the really nice features about the Indy 5 is you got plenty of mounting ports here on the bottom, these quarter 20s. And notice they all have area locking holes, pinholes on it. So this is really nice, so you can really dial in however you want to mount it, especially so you can leave space open if you want to, you know, run power directly into the power port or for your SDI in and out. Also take note, HDMI down here, SDI on that side. So you do get all 4 ports on the Indy 5. This is where it gets a little cumbersome. So we have our adapter here, and first of all, let me pull power to this. Here we go. So you can watch the startup time here of the Indy 5. And waiting, and there it is. And cool. And this is a photo I took actually, so stay tuned for my next photo video. Okay, so first things first here, I do want to attach now the SDI, now that we have power to the monitor. I do use Mutiny IO 12G cables, okay? I've never had an issue with my Komodo port. Knock on wood, right? Now I gotta go into this adapter first. So we have this is long. This is not flexible. This is not, you know, this could be a problem for some people. You know, I can find it already being a problem for me. The first AC is gonna be like, what am I gonna do with this thing? That's why I hire First AC, because they're smarter at cable management than I am, but this is going to be a big issue, right? So I don't know what they're going to do with this. I guess maybe you could run it along the back side of the camera, or the back side of the monitor rather. So, I mean, I think it would take some experimenting with this. Yeah, this is kind of a problem for me. I'm not sure what the issue was with not being able to do just a straight 9-pin like our Focus Pro had. I mean, you can see here, it only has 3 ports, other than the SD card slot and the battery thing, but that's what was really nice. You could go directly into the monitor, because this Indy 5 is like their entry level, right? There's also the Cine, and then there's the Ultra, which I think those are the better ones to have. Honestly, I mainly say that because they're much brighter in nits. Whatever's the highest one, which I believe is called the Ultra, I believe it's like close to 3,000 nits. But the main reason I say it's the better one to have is because you still have the old school joystick and buttons, and I really miss that. As cool as touchscreens are, I miss having the tangible joystick. That was the kind of nice, charming thing about all of the older 502 and 702 models. I loved the 702 OLED, and that kind of control is very similar to the newer Ultra Small HD monitor, where this one is touchscreen only. Some people might be into that. I will say, this newer technology, whatever they put into these newer models, is much more intuitive than what was on even just the Focus Pro from a few years back, so it is much better. It's very intuitive. I like it. One of my favorite features is you can just quickly zoom in and out like this, and that is really cool. So I got my custom A24 port cap on my Leica camera there, and you can see we can just zoom right in on that. And I really like that. I think that's pretty cool that you can do that, and you can keep pulling all the way out and then jump to your other pages. If we want to go to EL Zone, again, I highly encourage you to check out my walkthrough of a real world scenario of how I use the EL Zone. Okay, but let's go back to our normal thing here, and we can go back to our output page. So now you have an output page where you can just see exactly what the monitor is outputting, and I like that a lot too. Let's get into this camera control. You can buy this monitor either with or without the camera control. The camera control is brand new to this monitor now. It's very easy to set it up. You slide down here in your settings. You can go in here to your licenses, and you can add a license, and you'll see I already have the red camera control in here. So then if you slide over here and you go to accessories, you'll see camera control. We tap that, and now we just need to turn it on in here. So here we go, and here it is. For some reason, it always goes to a different page. I don't know why it does that. Okay, so now it's very similar to what we saw on the Focus Pro, right? Because it's all pretty much the same firmware. So you can see in here, we can tap any of these parameters, and we can quickly change them just like we were able to change them on the Focus Pro. There's my shutter going up and down. Here's my white balance going up and down. And yeah, and it very quickly changes, and it's all good. Let's put this back onto something that is something that's able to be able to look at without getting grossed out. And let's see if we had that issue. Camera menu, boom. So that was an interesting quirk with the Focus Pro. It was not letting me access the camera menu, but in here you can see you can do everything in here. I can go into maintenance. We could throw our body cap back onto our camera and calibrate our sensor in here, right? So you can literally just jump around in here, do everything you need to do. You have audio for time code. You can set that up in here. You have your project settings. However, I do want to point out you can even change your format in here on the actual monitor, right? And what's cool is you can throw it onto the side too. So you get like a little Wheel of Fortune wheel, and you can see it's jumping in and out as I'm changing the format here, but we'll just go to full sensor 17:9, and there it jumps back. You can change your color profile in here. So that's rad. And you have your little beady baby record button down here. And also you can monitor your traffic lights here. You can't really monitor the goalposts, but you at least can see the traffic lights. You get a little arrow underneath if it's filling up the shadow side of your goalpost, and then if it was filling up the top side, as you can watch here. Okay, there we completely crushed it. Oh, I don't really have a way to add more level to this, so I can't show you. But if it was getting overexposed, filling up the highlight section of your goalpost, then you would get little arrows on top of the dots, right? Oops, I tapped the white balance on accident. You have all the parameters on the top and bottom. As you can tell, it is kind of small, but this is the 5-inch, right? Everything is good in here, In here, you'll see you have a quick access button to use video time code, so that's kind of rad. All of your normal things in here. One thing I want to point out is, again, with this kind of Wheel of Fortune idea, I don't know, this is kind of nice. What's interesting is when I first had Komodo control on this little guy, the Focus Pro, it used to always be on the side like this. So then with the newer firmware, I guess they added the option where you could just have it up here. And this is kind of nice because it doesn't take up so much real estate and you don't lose what you're actually looking at on the monitor. So you can still reference it as you're changing your white balance. And it's kind of cool to have this because you can just quickly slide this back and forth and fine tune your white balance. And I like to do that because my eyes are kind of weird. Bring my AC over and be like, hey, Jimmy, come here, help me dial in this white balance real quick. Because it's always good to get a second eyes on your white balance at the top of the day or at the top of the lighting setup. Because honestly, my eyes are really crazy. If you subscribe to this channel, you know that. And so I always like to get second eyeballs on whatever I'm looking at, but I don't like to make a show out of it, so I like to kind of keep it low key. If you wanted to change the tint, let me see if we're able to change the tint. Here we go, custom white balance. Oh, so you can add a custom white balance to your presets. So that's kind of rad. It works perfectly, no big issues. My only kind of qualm with it, or complaint, I guess, it would be this little baby record button. And it's very tiny, but as you can see, it works. Everything is rolling on both sides here. And then you can tap it again. And yeah, it works. And you can even do playback from here. Over here, you can do playback. And now we can watch playback. And I believe you get controls of that too. Yeah, right there it is. So you can fast forward. You can fast forward through the playback. You can do whatever you want. And then you can just go back to camera. And you can see it switches from, whoops. It's doing something weird there. There it went back to camera. So you saw there was a kind of a weird little glitch right there. So there's still definitely some kinks to be worked out, jumping from playback back to record. I've noticed that in the past as well. The reason why I don't like this little baby record button is, one, because it's very tiny. And sometimes, you could hit the actual parameters of the monitor or whatever, because see, this is where we control things like, our input and things like that. So it's like, oh, wait, what happened here? So now we got to go all the way back where we were. So this is my output preview page. I only put my LUT on this page because this is how I output. I know exactly what's being sent down the stream to Video Village and all of that. So if we tap this, this is nice. You can quickly jump through kind of different backlit scenarios. And what I like about this is they have a studio version set up. Look at that, backlight Studio Rec 709. I like that. Or, you can quickly jog through the different brightness settings in increments of 20 from 0 to 100. But then I like to get in here and just quickly put it on studio. I like the studio. I think it's like the perfect amount of brightness when you're indoors. Now, when you're outdoors, this entry-level Indy 5 is only 1,000 nits. I just think, could we make this record button bigger? Maybe it is. It's got to be bigger on the 7-inch models, right? It has to be. Again, though, I don't know. I use the Mutiny IO record button. I don't know if you can see down here. I have the Mutiny IO bolted to the front of my little Derringer, so I use that. I've had people ask me why I got rid of the outrigger. It's huge. It comes way out here. You can't take it on and off easily, and I just liked this better. You can see how close the Derringer handle sits to the side of the Komodo. I still have record control at my fingertip with the Mutiny IO record control. I just like this better. Well, right now we have this heinous cable in the way. So again, I am a little annoyed with the weird adapter. I think it's cool how they implemented the quarter 20, but I think this right here is going to be a problem just because of how obnoxiously long and stiff it is. Okay, we'll leave it there. All right, so thank you all for watching. Let me know what you think about these new small HD monitors. I absolutely love them, and I'm not just saying that because they're, you know, a friend of mine, an affiliate of mine, I should say. So full disclaimer, Small HD did send me this monitor and the Red Control, but as you all know how I roll here on the Dog Times channel, I do not allow anyone to pre-screen my videos. I don't roll like that, you know that. I was really quite excited about Small HD reaching out to me, and I'm glad they did, and I'm really glad that they respect how I do things here on my YouTube channel, and they actually, you know, the reps there have told me that they like that I'm completely transparent. So you see, bigger companies do care, so I like that. So keep that in mind, folks. They, you know, I got a lot of respect for Small HD. These are all very reputable companies, and we know why. They're industry standards. I've always loved the operating software of a Small HD monitor. I don't think there's any operating software on any monitor in existence that beats the Small HD OS. I, hands down, have always said that from day one, back when I first reviewed this Small HD 702 OLED, which I still miss that monitor. Sometimes I wish I would have never got rid of that monitor. But you know, that is the life of buying and selling things as a freelancer. I'm sorry we didn't get any FaceTime on this one, folks, but I've got so much going on, and I have just been obsessed with street photography lately, and I will definitely be updating you guys on my journey, because as you can tell, I've been sneaking this Leica M8 in a lot of my videos lately, even back on the Sony RX1, and there's a reason for that. So please stay tuned. If you're new here, please hit this subscribe button. Hit the like button, maybe share this with your friends that are thinking about the Small HD, or they have a Red Komodo and they need the Komodo control. As always, thank you for watching, and let me know what you guys think too. Do you think that this is a better or kind of maybe not so good of an option compared to something like what you would find in a Porky's BM5WR, which I have shown here on the channel in the past too, which has complete wireless control via the Wi-Fi? I will say I think the response of when it's connected like this is much stronger. However, we do have the issues with this kind of obnoxious tethering. Also, I gotta give a shout out to this month's Patreon producers. We have Jonathan Arroyo and Scott Myers. That's a wrap.
All right.
And then, yeah, I'll probably just run this way, actually. I'm gonna put it right through that hole. Will it go? No, that ain't gonna work either. So see, that's kind of obnoxious.